Two brothers are in love with the same woman. And this all-in-the-family love triangle finally comes to an explosive showdown fueled by bad blood and fatal jealousy, leaving one of the brothers lying shot dead in a tragic modern-day Cain and Abel murder.
Everybody was talking about the correlation between the biblical story and this homicide.
It's kind of a story that's old as time.
Ironically, this tragic tale would unfold on the road to Damascus, a little rustic Pennsylvania township also with a name straight out of the Bible.
Damascus is very rural, farming community.
And in this case, Cain and Abel are Joe and Tony Salino.
They're local boys, both of them.
A pair of hard-working farmhands and also close siblings until they become love rivals.
There's always backstory to whatever happens. And in this case, this is something that started, months at least before this actually occurred.
The younger of the two brothers, 30-year-old Tony, had been living with 22-year-old Brooke Swingle.
Tony and Brooke met when Brooke was a teenager and Tony was in his mid-20s.
And initially, the couple appeared to be happy, having a young son together, Nico.
And Tony seemed to give her that sense of security, and things seemed to be going pretty good for a while.
But the blush of young love would begin to fade.
At some point, that relationship went south. And as Brooke told me, it became abusive, verbally, somewhat physically.
Tony reportedly keeping Brooke living like a prisoner in their own house.
Brooke became very concerned with the amount that Tony was trying to control her.
He controlled literally every aspect of her life to the point where she wasn't allowed to work outside of the home because he wouldn't let her.
Ruling the roost with brute force.
Brooke alleged a lot of actions that Tony had taken against her for reasons that she feared for her safety. He had threatened to punch her. He had threatened to kill himself previously. He had put his fist through windows and doors.
And Brooke would claim an unjustifiably jealous Tony was also tracking her movements and communications through their joint cell phone account.
And I think Brooke ultimately had had enough.
Finally, leaving Tony, taking their little boy with her, and filing an order of protection against him.
And that, according to her, was really the only way she could feel safe again.
But a friend had reportedly witnessed Tony flying into a frightening rage after the breakup.
And he's yelling out in the parking lot obscenities about Brooke and how could she take my kid away, and that he's going to kill her and that he's going to kill whoever she's with.
But little does Tony know that a knight in shining armor has come to Brooke's rescue. And it's none other than his own big brother, 40-year-old Joe.
He offered to help get her into a new place and help get her back on her feet. And it ended up that Brooke and Joe did develop a relationship together and began seeing each other after the relationship with Tony had ended.
Joe and Brooke had known each other for as long as she'd been with his little brother Tony.
Joe was someone that made Brooke feel safe. He wasn't an unknown to her. He was somebody that she already knew, and it was someone that she didn't have to be scared for her son to be around.
But an obsessed Tony is fit to be tied when he happens to see pictures of them together. Threatening to murder both Brooke and his brother in angry text messages he sent to one of Joe's friends, James. Writing in one of them, "I'm going to kill him, James. I have no choice." Tony admits in another text to James, "My brother, expletive, my girl, is killing me, man."
Tony told people if he can't have her, then nobody else can have her.
Especially his brother.
And all the other people in Tony's life are trying to calm him down, are trying to say, "Tony, don't do this."
And then it happens. Joe and Brooke are driving along the road to her new home in Damascus with their little boy Nico in the car when they pass Tony driving the opposite direction.
And Joe tells Brooke, don't turn right, go straight to avoid Tony Salino.
Joe hoping his brother didn't see him in the car with her.
So Brooke takes the car, goes straight up the road, and starts speeding up the road in an effort to get away from Tony,
who is now hot on her wheels.
So Joe tells Brooke, turn up this street. And unfortunately for Brooke and Joe, it wasn't a street, it was a driveway that dead-ended at a house.
Tony has them boxed in.
So when Brooke realizes we have to stop the car, Joe gets out of the car and runs into the woods.
Hoping to avoid what he knows would be an ugly confrontation with his furious younger brother.
When Tony pulled up behind Brooke, he got out of his truck. He came up to the driver's side door of Brooke's car. He already had the gun in his hand. Brooke could see the gun. She could hear the metal of the gun rapping on the window. Tony was ordering her to roll the window down and tell him what was going on between her and Joe.
But Brooke won't do it.
She was scared for her life. She was scared for the life of Nico.
Now Joe knows he has to do something.
Joe then came out of the woods and came towards Tony to defend her, to protect her from Tony.
And the brothers wrestle each other for the gun in what would be a battle to the death. Next, police arrive at the scene to find one of the two Salino brothers shot dead by the other.
There was a blood trail that went along through here, up the driveway.
She said that Joe was at the back of the car, running towards Tony.
Who's in a jealous rage, armed with a .22 caliber pistol.